Well, we are back, and a week later this time, we are on it, and we're gonna start posting it. We're gonna turn it into Mr. Wins Weekly instead of Mr. Wins Whatever. And today, I wanted to do something a little different, something a little more special. Instead of just talking about one book specifically, I want to do like an author spotlight and talk about one of my favorite authors, Fyodor Dostoevsky. He's a very interesting man, and so he was born in pretty sure the 1830s, and so maybe 1820s, but mid 1800s, that was his time period, and he's Russian, so one of the greatest Russian authors and greatest Western authors. And so his story is a little bit interesting. Is he started writing he started doing like a newspaper, but it was a newspaper that was against the Tsar or the Russian king, and so the king overheard, and so him, like Dostoevsky and all his friends, they all got put in prison, and then they were given the death sentence. But the king wasn't actually going to execute them. He just wanted to make them think that they were being executed, and then just send them to prison, and then make them soldiers, or enlist them in the army for a little while. And so what happened was he was going to be killed by firing squad, and him and all his friends were lined up. They were told, oh, you have 5 minutes to live. But then at the last second, the Tsar's men came and said, no, we're actually just sending you to prison. Haha, JK, lol, gotcha. And that actually ruined Dostoevsky's mind, as in that was very psychologically hard on him, but also made him who he was. And so what I want to do is read an excerpt from a letter to his brother on the experience about, being literally told 5 minutes left to live, and kind of pretty much a near-death experience. As I look back upon the past and think how much time has been spent to no avail, how much of it was lost in delusions, in mistakes, in idleness, in not knowing how to live, what little store I sit upon it, how many times I sinned against my heart and spirit, for this my heart bleeds. Life is a gift. Life is happiness. Every moment could have been an age of happiness, if the youth only knew. Now, on changing my life, I am being born again in a new form. Brother, I swear to you, I will not lose hope, and will preserve my spirit and my heart in purity. I'll be reborn to the better. This is all my hope and my consolation. So, very interesting. He was about to die. His life is nothing, as he says. He was lost in delusions and idleness, and then, he's about to die, and then all of a sudden he's once he gets saved, he realizes how important life is, and this sparks him to do the rest of his life and write the greatest novels in history. And so the one I have right here is his first novel, Notes from a Dead House, which is sometimes translated as The House of the Dead. And so we're pretty close to Halloween here, so it would be a good kind of Halloween themed book. It's about his experience in the Siberian prison after his near-death experience. And so I want to recommend some other of his books too, notably Notes from the Underground and Brothers Karamazov. I've read those, and those are amazing too. And why I love him so much is the ideas that he gives are so important, and it all starts from this idea of the importance of life, of, I almost died, but now that I almost died, I realize that every moment counts. So, what do you think about that? I'm hearing
Hi
this.
guys.
Yeah, I haven't been able to let you join in. I'm sorry, but
Nah, you're completely fine. Honestly, by the time that this episode does come out, it'll probably be past Halloween.
Yeah,
I can't say that we'll make it Wins Weekly this time. Cell Bio's kicking my ass, unfortunately. But you talked about Fyodor Dostoevsky, was it?
Yes, sir.
He had a near-death experience. Mm-hmm. He had 5 minutes to live and basically had to cherish whatever left he had with himself, with his company, with the memories of his family and past life in those 5 minutes before he was basically just dead on the ground.
Yeah.
Another casualty of the government. But then they're like, nah, you actually get to live.
Yeah.
And we're taking you to our army. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Come with us. So, drafting in the United States is illegal. And I'm sure around most of the world, there's not really a lot of situations where your government is going to come to your house and say oh, we need you for our army. You're coming with us, bro.
Yeah.
So, how do you apply that situation on a smaller scale towards things that we're going through? Because as we typically do with these episodes, we apply the lessons from the books or just from the authors in general apply it to something that college students can use, people like us can use.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's why I chose this book. I think the minimal lesson that I think people should get out of college is that, I know when I first, high school feels forever. It's like, oh, it's 4 years. Oh, it's so long. Then as soon as you're done high school, you're like, oh no, I'm an adult now. Oh! And so it's like, oh, time's running out. I'm going to have to find a job. I'm going to have to build my resume because I have nothing on my resume. And then I have to do all these things. And then there's all this adversity that comes of, oh, you fail a class. Oh, these assignments suck. Oh, who knows what atrocities can happen. Lots of diverse adversities can happen to a lot of people. And so I think it's important to put things in perspective. And so the easiest way to do that is like, well, things may be going like shit right now, but I am alive. And since I'm alive, I can do something about that. And so it's kind of taking it back to like, I could be dead at any moment, and so I only have this short amount of life to live. Like, my life is not that long. And so once you realize that and you can start getting to work on things that matter to you, like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I pass these classes, or maybe make sure I work on this hobby, or make sure I even just take care of myself. Because for me personally, a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm a runner, I have engineering classes, and I do some biomedical research, so I have a very busy life. So when I get home at the end of the day, it's like, all I want to do is sit down and like watch TV or just sleep all the time. Or when a weekend comes, I find myself laying in the bed too much or on my phone too much. Like right now, too much Clash Royale, like just too much. And for a lot of people, for me, it's Clash Royale. Some people, it's TikTok. I know people who are like, yeah, I spend 14 hours a week on TikTok. I'm like, man, if you spent 14 hours a week doing anything else, like, or not anything else, but just on like either self-improvement, self-care, or just on your homework, on studying, or even just hanging out with friends and people and experiencing the world around you, your life will be so much more full. And then once adversity comes, you have that life that's full of interesting things to kind of combat that. And so it all starts from, okay, I'm going to die someday. Do I really want to spend every moment on TikTok? Like, really, is that all you're going to do with your entire life when you're an adult now and you have job closing in, you got tests coming up and all this stuff now? It's like, for me, it's hard when you come home at the end of the day to like be motivated. And so what really helps you get motivated is, man, I'm going to die one day. This is the one life I have to live, so I need to really make the most of it. He says every minute is an age of happiness, not like every once in a while get some happiness. No, it's like just being alive and being the breath of life, which means I'm able to go and do things. Just that gives them so much happiness, much more than just, oh, I'm going to be shot and dead on the ground, And so, what I love about the author, bringing it back to his other books, is that, he kind of talks about that minute of happiness, every minute being happiness, through, being in the Siberian prison. And this is the most like kind of like autobiographical of his. Like, this is kind of like his story, but it's like kind of it's in a twist of a fiction. But other books are like completely fiction, but kind of goes through the different ideas. Like, I know the Brothers Karamazov, that's a lot about. There's like a brother who's super religious, and there's a brother who's not religious at all. They kind of talk about different ways that people see the world. How I know I was talking about a couple weeks ago, there's some people, it's like, oh, life doesn't really matter, we're just monkeys on a space rock going through space.
A floating space rock.
Yeah, it's the floating space rock. And so like that. But he kind of talks about in his book, kind of combats like nihilism with faith, or with just, not even like religious faith, but just faith in life itself, of like, no, there actually is a reason to go do things. And if you spend all your time on TikTok, you're going to miss out on everything, and then you'll be dead, and then you'll be, he says, sinned against his own spirit. Like, it's like your whole heart is just going to be like, what have you done? And you're going to just, that, existential guilt is going to be there. And so, like, kind of coming to terms with that and incorporating that into your, I guess, morning routine. I'm like, okay, I'm up, I'm alive, I can go do things. Let me go make things better for myself, or even for others. If if yourself is good, it's like all these people around you, just go outside and go meet them, So that's that's what I want people to know, because I'm just 14 hours on TikTok. That really bothered me, and so
yeah, I'll spend 14 hours a week getting my data stolen.
Yeah.
My personal information on the internet. Let's go. I get my short form content. Social security number taken from me.
Yeah, my identity stolen, but at least I was on TikTok.
Real. But
no, for real.
Actually, going back to what you were talking about,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the feelings of powerlessness. You say like, you could spend 14 hours a week on TikTok, or you could spend 14 hours doing anything else, but there may be some things that get in the way of that, like addiction. Like addictions to social media, those take up time, but even more scary stuff like alcoholism, hard drug use, potentially things that are not safe for work as well. So, in spite of these things, how can someone still find the motivation to really get out there and do what they need to do?
No, that's a great point you bring up, because, a lot of people, alcoholism isn't as common, but, some of my people still vape, and even weed. Like, weed's a huge one. Like, everyone smokes weed. I know some people who smoke weed all the time, and their excuses, it's like, we're tying it back to that is, well, this won't physically kill me. It's like, well, physical death isn't the only death out there. There's even, like, if you spend all your life smoking weed, then that's the only thing you've only done in your life. And that's a different kind of death too. And so I know Albert Camus, a different existential philosopher, he talked about like philosophical suicide, of kind of where people, instead of like engaging with their life, of like kind of and their life tasks and like kind of think about what that is from, they just like say fuck it, and they don't really like, it's not like real suicide where you kill yourself, but it's like you just get given up on yourself, which is just like it's more metaphorical death. And so with that, let's say you're addicted to social media. I can't get off social media, TikTok, or I can't stop smoking weed, or I can't stop vaping because of all this adversity in my life. That's my coping mechanism. It's like, well, at least the easiest way to think of it, for me at least, is it's like, man, my life is going to end. It's like, do I want to spend my whole life smoking weed? Do I want to spend my whole life vaping? It's like, those are questions you should ask yourself. And then once you start asking yourself those questions, and then you find something you want to do, and you start going to do that, then you build real happiness, real fulfillment, and then, motivation snowballs as you start finding out more things to do, and your life gets better and better, and then you're not doing those self-destructive coping mechanisms anymore, and so you're more attuned to your life's purpose. And a lot of people get in kind of like these dopamine cycles of, okay, I wake up, I TikTok, then social media, then I vape, and then later I smoke weed, and then I watch Netflix, and it's like, some people are addicted to porn. It's like, then I go right to porn, and then I go to sleep. It's like, oh, but I did some studying in there, but I'm not failing my classes. But it's like, if you look at your whole life, like all you're doing is dopamine cycle, dopamine cycle, dopamine cycle. You're not actually doing anything. When if you give yourself a chance to strive and do something difficult but meaningful, then down the road you're gonna thank yourself that you actually went out and lived, and you actually went out and did something, when a lot of people these days aren't doing anything.
Yeah, honestly, I can speak from experience with that. I've been able to get so much more productive just by not using my phone first thing in the morning. Yeah. Like I had that last week where I was just like, first thing I did, wake up, go on Instagram. Yeah. And then I wouldn't be productive the rest of the day. Yeah. And then I don't go on my phone until after breakfast, and it's like the productivity jump is huge.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I've tried that before too. Like I know in high school and stuff, I would always look at Instagram in the morning. Then I'm like, man, a half hour to an hour every morning is just looking at Instagram. Then I stopped and I started reading. Look where I am now. Making these cool videos, and I do in my life. I have a lot more knowledge to take with me with reading all these books. So when adversity comes, I have like a whole knowledge base to put up against that. Kind of like let's say your mind is a fortress. Life is a war. You got to build up your fortress, and when you have a good knowledge to build up your fortress, then when things come attacking at you, you have a structure that can withstand that. And then once you're out of college and you are a real adult, and you have, let's say you might have kids, or let's say you're you're married, or let's say you just have a really difficult job, then you already have those strong structures built in place. But when you have a dopamine cycle like that, it's like, yeah, you can go 30 years and blink and they're gone and you've done nothing because you just wake up and just just kind of farming as much dopamine as you can, but you're not actually building your life, So, yeah.
A lot of people could benefit from a dopamine reset.
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, that's what my challenge for everyone who watches this is like, do something different. It's not looking at your phone. It's like, maybe it's reading, something you want to try, or maybe it's you want to get dance lessons, or maybe you want to go to a meditation class with other people, or maybe you just want to go get coffee with someone. Like, do something different out of your normal routine that's not something different, and then that's more fulfilling for you. Maybe it's art, maybe you want to just pick up a hobby or something. I've always been thinking about, like, go try it, see how it feels. Like, just get off your phone, go try something new, and see how that works out. See if that improves your life, because I think it will.
And November's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
That means.
Yes, sir. Get your structure, your fortress built, and get ready for that, too.
Yes, absolutely. At the beginning, I thought this was going to be a much shorter episode, but we actually hit over 15 minutes.
Wow.
Which is insane.
But, yeah.
Other than everything we talked about, I really think that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Of course. Thank you, guys. This was awesome. Good luck the rest of the semester.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us again today, and we will see you next time on Mr. Wins Whenever We Feel Like It.